Welcome to European Startup Universe Talks. In this series, we will meet startup founders, entrepreneurs, investors, and major stakeholders of the startup ecosystem. They will let us in on the challenges and the successes of their career, their view on the current state of the startup field, and give vital advice for those in the beginning stages of their startup journey. If you're in the early stages of your startup and are looking for an opportunity to take it to the next level, join the 6-week European Startup Universe initiative of your country. There you will get founding opportunities, meet with experienced experts and founders, and network with the startup community and much more. Let's make the EU the global powerhouse for startups. Welcome to European Startup Talks. I'm Maritza and I'm here with Irina, the co-founder of Acertivo. Welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. I would like just to start off by, can you tell me a bit more about Acertivo? What is it that you do?
Acertivo is a mental health support platform for workplaces. So it's basically a platform where you can work your emotional skills when you need support to deal with difficult emotions throughout the day. Say you have a presentation coming up and you start feeling anxiety or worry. So what you can do is log into Acertivo and you will find there a toolbox that you can use on the spot to manage your anxiety about that presentation better. So, and this is true actually for managing difficult conversations, for perfectionism, for self-doubt, and for many more other topics regarding mental health.
Okay. How would you say that? How was the process of taking it from the idea? Like how did the idea come to you?
Well, it's actually a longer and a shorter story. The first time that the idea came was actually during a class at an EMBA that I took, and it was I think entrepreneurship class, and the assignment was to come up with an idea and then develop a business plan and a pitch to present in front of real-life investors, and this was the final exam. And Acertivo was then named otherwise I think Progressio or something, and we pitched it and it was very well received. And that is when I came up with the idea to, okay, maybe I could do this and maybe we could go along with this, and it is something that many workplaces would benefit from. The bigger idea actually was long, where it was older than this, because I'm a therapist. I've been a therapist for about, I think I'm in my 11th year of practice now, and I often see people dealing with anxiety, depression, and so on. And most of these problems have their roots in the workplace or are triggered in the workplace. And I always thought that if people had more information about their emotions, how their emotions work, how their minds work, how they can take the information that their emotions are telling them and use them better to function, then they can prevent or they could have prevented these disorders to happen. So what am I trying to do as a personal level, at the professional level, is to actually break up this big, mystery and complexity around the mental health, and show that it can be broken down into small bites, tools that you can use every day just to function better. You don't need to sit on a couch for 30 years or for 10 years to manage your emotions. You could do that, of course, sometimes you have to do that, but most of the times you actually can do small things every day, just like you do with your physical health. Yeah, you eat healthy, you go for a walk, you try to sleep earlier and so on. So these are the kind of things that you can do with your mental health every day to function better.
It's the really small steps, so the small actions that have the great outcome in the end.
Yes, we actually say in Acertivo that we're doing low-touch therapy. It's like the small pieces that you can do every day, the very, very small touches that you can do every day to manage difficult situations. They are like in the example with the presentation that I said. This is a very common problem for most people. I have anxiety, or I have some butterflies in my stomach and some unsettledness before a presentation, or just like me before this interview. Yeah, and I can, if I cannot manage my anxiety, I can say, okay, this is not for me, I won't do this, but it will damage me and my business and what I want, my values and what I want to do in my life. So if I know how to manage it, understand my anxiety, or what is that anxiety trying to tell me, because it actually tries to tell me that this is important, it's important for me to do well, yeah, to say my ideas in a I don't know, well-spoken manner, to get my ideas to many people, and this will help me manage it, not control it, not having it, yeah, because I can feel some emotion there, because it is I don't know, it's important situation for me, but this will not prevent me from doing the interview or from actually doing my best. Yeah.
Can you give me an example of the low touch therapy that you can do through Acertivo?
Well, this is one example with the anxiety. We actually developed the workflows that you will find in Acertivo, because there are asynchronous workflows that you can self-pace through. Are actually the themes that we came up with, because right now they're very different from, I don't know, 1 year or 2 years ago when we initially launched. They were created and designed after talking to users and after finding out what their struggles are. And most of the time in the workplace, we're talking about difficult conversations. Yeah, how to, I don't know, talk to a colleague that I'm not really comfortable with his work, and I like that colleague, I don't want to upset him, I don't want to ruin the relationship. How do I do this? And this is an example of low touch therapy. We'll have a workflow in Acertivo with managing difficult conversations, and it will take you through several tools that you can use to manage that situation better. Okay, or another one is how to manage self-doubt. Okay, and this is very, very important for people who are maybe beginners in their job and they're just starting out, and I say, okay, can I do this? Or I have an idea, but should I say, or should I tell my boss about it? Should I tell it in the meeting, my input, my feedback? I don't know, what would they think about? And this is something that you can also work through with the workflows from Acertivo. And we also have a very particular feature in the product, and we call it meetups. And meetups are 1 hour discussions on different topics, questions that you have on the subject of mental health. And I believe that, I mean, we decided on this format, 1 hour format, which is very, very short if you think about it, because it's just the situational question that you have. Okay, maybe I don't want to, I mean, day-long workshops are great when you want to get in depth with some topic, but if you have just a question like, okay, how do I make a difference between a therapist or a coach? Okay, this is something that we can approach. Or how do I what do I do, I don't know, when I want to talk to my boss about a raise. Okay, so this is something that we approach in 1 hour meetups with more than 1 people, with people from teams, and they share their feedback with each other. I tell them about informational best practices, maybe nudge them a bit with some questions to really get in touch with what they're feeling and their ideas, and maybe their, I don't know, irrational thoughts that they might have on that topic, and they just get a, I don't know, shift of perspective maybe. So this is another example of low touch therapy. So we want to do things in the, I don't know, in the small bites, so to say.
Yes, so that becomes more comprehensible.
Yes, and consistent. I think that consistency is really, really important rather than complexity in this. And this is something that I, as a mental health professional, I find it really challenging, because there's a lot of complexity in this topic, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions and myths surrounding mental health and anything regarding mental health. And I think that simplicity and consistency make some good friends in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. And just being able to talk about it in the workplace, especially when you say that a lot of mental health issues come from the workplace. So then starting at the root.
They're triggered there. Yeah, they're triggered there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very interesting. Mm-hmm. I would like to ask you, you told us about how you came up with the idea at university, But how did you then later on take it to where it is now? How was that process?
Well, it was and it still is a very highly iterative process, if I can say so. Actually, we pitched the idea, but then it was a kind of a long pause where I was just thinking about it and focusing on other. I had to finish my degree and stuff like that. Then we started actually picking it up after we met Lucian, our developer, and it's a very funny story because we met him at the playground with my daughter and his son were playing, and we got to talking, and he was a developer and I was a founder looking for looking for a developer to build the product. And we told him about it, and he was really excited about the idea and decided to get on board. So this was the first step. We got a developer on board, and then we just started to meet and discuss about how do we want the product to be. It was actually very exciting period. If you ask me, if I look back, like a change of perspective, it was really stressful back then. Now I think it's really it was really exciting because we were just pitching ideas. We had no pressure and we had no, I don't know, no deadline. We just wanted to make something. Yeah, we didn't know how it's gonna be or what it's gonna be like. We had the idea, we had the, I don't know, value, the mission in it, and then we started to put some meat on it, like you to say, and we just worked on it. And then I think a few months later we had our first client, and then things got a bit or more serious in the sense that we actually started to put more structure into it, to give a bit more thought to the, I don't know, user engagement, how to talk to customers and users and so on and so forth. And that's what we've been doing since. So this is, and we actually changed the product, if we can say that, a lot after talking to users and after, I don't know, meeting their needs and listening to what they're struggling with, actually, because the low touch therapy and the idea of making it very highly situational was from users, actually, because it wasn't from, it was from users and what they need. What do you struggle with in your day at work? Yeah, what are the main situations in which you would need something like, okay, what do I do now? You know?
So you did the research about what was needed.
Oh. Yeah. Before we started building the product, I did, because Acertivo was actually my final paper for the EMBA, and as part of the research, I did a lot of interviews with customers, with people from learning and development, with people from HR, with CEOs from companies and small companies, just to have a feel about what they're dealing with in this area, what do they use to, I don't know, maybe deal with mental health and personal development, what they like about it, what they don't like about it, what would they change about it, just to get a feel of the needs. And then the pandemic came and everything changed, because the need became, well, we all know how it became. And it still is. But it was a bit of a research work, and it actually still is. I think it never stops. Because the needs change, and I'm meeting with people almost weekly, talking about this, about their struggles, about what they're going through at their companies, either I don't know, employees or members of teams, either team managers or just, I don't know, managers of departments and so on. Yeah.
Okay. How was the process of getting funding? How did you go around to get that?
That's a good question. I have to look back and just pinpoint some milestones in this, because at first we actually were not. I know it's a strange thing to say, but we were not actively looking for funding. Because we weren't sure that we had the, and I know this is not a good idea for startups. Hearing this, don't actually don't do this. But we felt that we were not ready to spend money or other people's money on this. So we kept it low. We had lots of conversations with business angels, and we got approached by business angels and by funds and so on from Romania mostly, but not only, but mostly from Romania. And we talked about our needs, we talked about our idea, we talked about the team. And actually it was kind of a serendipity moment getting funded, because we got approached by a fund at the point where we actually were ready to take it to the next level. I mean, we really needed more resources to, I don't know, to pump it up a bit, just so to speak. I mean, we needed maybe even the trust that I think getting funded brings you. It's a lot of self confidence that brings in founders, but actually, and also it was the resource part that was really important. So this is how we got funded. It was a serendipity. We got it. I think we accepted an offer at a point where we were ready to do this, and we felt ready to put in more resources into the startup.
Oh, I know you said that that others shouldn't take this advice, but maybe in a way that it's quite good advice, that it's good to have like a real solid foundation to stand on before reaching out to that very big step of getting funded.
Yes, it is a big step. I think for us, it was a really big shift, maybe mentally. We're talking about mental health, but psychologically, it was a big shift, because we were playing in a different league, and I think it got us more engaged and more involved. We were, because it was our baby, so to speak, but it's another level. I think it's another way of looking at the situation when you have other people involved, people who trust you. And I think that what was very I don't know, interesting for me to see was that funders look for, or investors, not funders, investors look for teams. And I think the team is maybe more important sometimes than the idea. And this is what my feeling is: the team and the trust that they have, the confidence that they have that the team can make things happen, and then they have the best intentions, they have a passion, they have expertise in the field that they're building in. Yeah. And I think that is very, very important and also for the founder part. I mean, if the question is, okay, how do I, as a founder, I don't know, approach an investor? I think this is one of the things that are really, really important. I would have liked to know back then, is that it's about you. It's about how do you present your idea. It's about how much confidence you have in your idea and in your ability to deliver, and to not to deliver, but actually to make steps and to progress into it. Because you don't need to deliver anything, maybe revenue, but that's not the point there. But you have to deliver value. And how can you deliver value? And I think this is a very important thing that to keep in mind for founders.
Oh, so they can see or sense that
Yes.
the team is really solid.
Yes, it's the solid base, and it's the fact that you're passionate and can bring value, even though maybe you don't have all your ducks in a row. You don't know everything about how it's going to be in a year from now, because your product might change, and it should change. I think it's that idea that if you're happy with what you launched, maybe you launched too late. Yeah, so you should be a bit unhappy with what you launched, because there's room to improve. Yeah.
No, absolutely, and being able to pivot and being flexible with, okay, this isn't working, we have to go in another direction, and so on.
Yes.
But when you were in the early stages, did you have any support or somebody to ask for guidance and so on?
Well, yes, we did have, and we were very lucky, because the whole idea of doing a startup actually was highly fueled by the fact that me and one of the other founders, Anton, were part of an EMBA program in Romania that is highly focused on startup or on the entrepreneurship, I don't know, mentality, so to speak. And the instructors at this EMBA program are actually people from business, mentors, I don't know, business angels, so on. And they do business every day. They're not professors, and they are always available to ask and they still are, and we are very thankful and grateful for that, because they were there when we had to call and say, okay, so we got this, what do we do with this? And it was a series of questions that helped us from them, that helped us clarify our ideas. So yeah, those were, and those still are the people that we turn to.
What do you think, like you were lucky to have access to mentors, but how does it look in the startup field in general in Romania with that?
Well, actually, I was very pleased, pleased and very happy to find out there are programs that in Romania that are, or that exist just to encourage and to help startups. And there is a startup ecosystem in Romania, very strong one, if I may add. And there are initiatives just like yours that provide mentorship, that provide workshops, that provide networking, which is very important with other founders, not just with investors, with other founders, just to catch ideas or maybe complain to one another, but just to be there for each other in general, and to help out. And I think this is really important. So there are a lot of initiatives like this in Romania, and I didn't know before I entered this ecosystem, but now that I'm in it, I do feel that I have people to ask, and I have places to go to if I need something, or if I want to contact, or maybe I have a question about legal or stuff like that.
It's impossible to know every little detail by yourself. You need a network with support and connections and so on.
Yeah, and I think that this is one of the struggles, or actually for us, or for me personally, it was because you get into a field where you don't know that many. I'm a professional in mental health. I can talk to you about anxiety, depression, panic attacks, and so on. But when you deal with startups, you deal with so many other things, such as contracts and legal and marketing and product development, stuff that you have to learn as you go along, and you won't be good at it. And this is really important. You will actually sometimes suck at it, and you will ask all the wrong or the questions, and that's okay, because it is a big leap out of your comfort zone. And most founders are like that, because they have expertise in a field, and then they go in another field, and they just have to learn and just have to adapt to it. And it is a very strenuous project. I think that apart from having a baby or raising a small child, I think building a startup is one of the biggest personal development steps that you can take in your life, because you need to deal with so many things that are unexpected, that are frustrating, that are really, really exciting at the same time. But yeah, it is personal development on fast forward, if you will.
It's a roller coaster ride of emotions. So
yeah. Most of the times it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if you have given a lot of advice already, but if you were to give more, do you have like a favorite or the most important component that you would like to share with other early stage startup funders?
A component. I think that it would be to start sooner rather than later. And even if you don't have all your ducks in a row, you don't know everything about what you want to do or where you want to go to. You don't, or maybe you do know where you want to go to, but you don't actually know the road there. Just start. I think it's important, first of all, to start. Because it will be, and I'm sure it's not a very happy advice, but there will be failures, and there will be setback and frustration. But at the same time, start and keep in touch with people. Talk to people about your idea. Talk to people about your product. This will help you refine your idea. Don't keep it in yourself until you have the perfect pitch. Just talk to people about it until you get to the perfect pitch with their feedback, with their questions. And I think being out there, showing up, even though you don't know how it's gonna look, or how it's gonna develop, I think it's really important being there.
Yeah, for sure. And like the perfect pitch doesn't, it has to meet someone else before it
Yes.
becomes
Mhm.
perfect. Because,
Yeah, it's a very good insight. Yeah, it has to meet someone else before it becomes perfect. Because in your head, it will always be, I don't know, a nudge, or you have to do another thing or another thing to it. But just until you get the real feedback from real people, it will be really difficult to just to keep it. Yeah.
yeah, at the idea stage.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the stage is really good, but I think it's when you start to talk about it and to build it, then that's when it becomes real. It's actually for many it's the scary part, but it's actually the most exciting part, because that's when you know how it works and you get to put your, I don't know, to put your knowledge at work when you start building it, and you just start to, I don't know, see how other people are interacting with the product and how they're responding to it and so on.
Yeah, for sure.
So don't keep it to yourself. That is one advice. Start and don't keep it to yourself. Just work on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What would you say are the future plans for Acertivo? What goals and plans?
Well, our plans are to increase our user base, to keep selling, and because this is what paradoxically, more users will get more feedback, and this will help us make the product better for them. And this is the plan. In terms of goal, I think it's, for my personal goal, is to bring the emotional education talk on the table. I think it's a very, especially in the workplace. I think that why the workplace is a place where mental health, I don't know, develops more, where mental health issues appear more often, is because people don't usually see workplaces as emotional places. They see them as places of business. And I think that this is one of the most important things that needs to change perspective, because of course there are people at places of business, but companies are made up of people, and people feel, and their emotions will influence everything that they do, from the way that we interact, that they make decisions, that they sign contracts, that they show up and don't show up, and so on and so forth. And engagement, productivity, and everything, all the metrics that companies are just are working with, are based on emotions, and how people manage their emotions are very, very important and involved in this. So I think a long-term goal, is to bring this idea of emotional education very close to, or almost in every company. And the idea that emotional education is something that you have to do on a consistent basis. You cannot do it just once or in a crisis. It helps, of course it does, but not on the long term, and not and not as a way to increase productivity. That's another discussion.
Yes, yeah, I can really imagine, because it's not like, if the people in the workplace are feeling good, of course they will be more productive, and maybe that is not the main cause, the main reason. It's for people to actually enjoy and feel good about everyday life at work.
And feel that they have meaning, they have purpose, they have autonomy, they bring value, and they deliver value. And that's, I think, what's about, and that's what drives engagement and productivity and so on in the workplace. I think it's the way that people feel and how they understand it. And you need to understand your emotions in order to do that. You need to understand when you're feeling, I don't know, have an interaction, you're feeling a bit off. What is that off, and what does it tell you about your need in that situation? Maybe it's frustration, maybe it's anxiety, maybe sometimes it's, I don't know, lack of values and so on. But it's very difficult to make a decision when you don't know what is that off. And when, of course, and this is worse, when you have the expectation not to feel like that, or not to feel anything, because it's just business. You cannot separate that, and neither should we, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Emotional intelligence is really a skill to create and curate.
Yes.
But, yeah, I would have been such a pleasure to talk to you, really. Is there anything, before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to add?
I don't know. I think we covered most of the bases. I think that if it's a podcast and other founders are listening to this, I just want to, I don't know, maybe say that I know that starting a startup, or when I was asked before, do you really want to start a startup? And I was like, yeah, sure. You built a company out of something that you love. Why would I not want to do that? And 2 years later, I better understand the question. So I think that I know that sometimes it's frustrating. I know that sometimes you juggle with lots of information and lots of decision, and you very soon get to that decision fatigue situation where you just, I don't know, do as you like. I don't care anymore. But I think that it's really important for startup founders to maybe more than any other people in the business world, to manage their mental health and to pay more attention to it, because it's a highly uncertain, building a startup is a highly uncertain area, and this is a very bad combination and a sure recipe to burnout when you're managing so much uncertainty at the same time. And I think that one of the messages I wanted to deliver is to just pay attention and just allow yourself to stop sometimes, allow yourself to think about what you're doing, allow yourself to have doubts and be, I don't know, maybe resource less. And it's okay, that's okay. You just need to allow yourself to stop, and it's okay not to be okay, so to speak, when doing this, even though it's something that you love, it's something that you want to build, it's something that you want to see grow. Yeah.
No matter how passionate you feel about something, it cannot sacrifice your own mental health and well-being.
And pay attention that you sometimes don't realize that you're sacrificing it. I mean, it feels like you're doing something great, and you are. It's just that sometimes you realize too late that you're a bit far from the shore, and it might be too tiresome to come back. Yeah, so just take it easy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, be observant of the signs, yeah, and take care of your well-being. Yeah. But yes, thank you so very much for talking to me today. I'm really, really happy to hear all about what you do and your story and everything.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a very nice talk for me. So I hope it wasn't too much, too many emotions. But if they were, well, it's.
I think it's good with emotion. We definitely have space for emotion.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do. Thank you so much.
To join the 6-week program, register on the website until the 28th of February. Go to thestartupuniverse.org. Make sure to follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and on TikTok. Please like and subscribe in order to get notified for our next episode on YouTube or on the podcast platforms. Thank you for listening.